What's up, everybody? It's Jeff the Iron Wolf here, and I'm coming at you again. And what are we going to talk about today? Well, it's something that Jeff Hicks brought up on World Class Bullshitters, and it's a point that really got me thinking and really wanted me to just put my own 2 cents on my own channel. And that's the legacy of George Lucas and what he has literally brought to the screen himself or helped bring to the screen, and the amount of changes that he put upon cinematography and cinema's history. And how people like Kathleen Kennedy, Mr. Marshall, and other people are just trying to edge him out and be like, no, you really didn't do all that much. You're just a crazy old man. Shut up and go away now. It's our show. And it's like, no, you really can't do that. And honestly, yes, one of his biggest contributions to cinema history was Star Wars in 1979. I am not going to discount that. But honestly, George Lucas's biggest contribution is literally his most unsung. And what's that? Industrial light and magic. He was the father of it. It was his brainchild. Granted, he brought a great, talented group together to do things that by that point were literally deemed impossible in cinematography and special effects. He blew the roof off the curve and forever changed cinema history. Without Industrial Light and Magic, because Jeff Hicks actually, when I brought the point up during Good Morning Pop Culture, and if you don't watch it, I highly suggest you do. I am an avid listener, and I sometimes throw up some bucks towards it. But I brought up the point. Without Industrial Light and Magic, Star Trek, the motion pic, the first 6 Star Trek movies just don't get made the same, especially with the space battles. That is all ILM. All the ship stuff in Star Trek 1 through 6, that is all Industrial Light and Magic. So yes, George Lucas has his fingerprints all over not only his own brand that he created from scratch, but Gene Roddenberry's brand. Because basically anytime they needed ship stuff, they went right to ILM. They are the guys who made that stuff happen. And I don't know about the shows, but I think the shows even went to ILM because I know just about every single movie that has been done for special effects for Star Trek, at least 1 through 6, and I'm pretty sure all the way up to Nemesis, was all Industrial Light and Magic. I don't know about the new Star Trek movies, but I think those were too. I'd have to double check for you guys. Can't do it right now because you can see I'm driving along. But that's just Star Trek. Star Wars, every single Star Wars movie was ILM. Some other great, fantastic movies, all the Back to the Future special effects were Industrial Light and Magic. Cocoon was Industrial Lights and Magic. Die Hard 2 special effects, they had a few of them, was all Industrial Light and Magic. Terminator 2, making the T-1000, was Industrial Light. Industrial Light and Magic has the first computer-generated sequence in Star Trek II, The Wrath of Khan, the Genesis sequence that Kirk was explaining to McCoy and Spock. That was Industrial Light and Magic. Industrial Light and Magic has done so much for the movie history, and I think it is George Lucas's greatest legacy to cinematography. Greatest achievement. Some other stuff that George Lucas done. THX, he pushed for that. Pixar goes right back to George Lucas because Pixar was spawned off of Industrial Light and Magic. So all the great Pixar movies, you can thank George Lucas for that because it was his brainchild, ILM, that made Pixar happen. So, yeah, George Lucas's contribution to cinematography, as much as people like to sweep it under the rug, like Indiana Jones 5 and saying he's not in the story group and yada, 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 you all can go straight to hell. George Lucas's legacy cannot be destroyed, cannot be denied, cannot be swept under the rug. Has George Lucas made some mistakes? Of course he had. The lead refrigerator and the atomic bomb sequence? Yeah, we all know it. Okay, you're reaching on that one, Papa George. But you know what? Sometimes you reach for the moon. Sometimes you reach for the stars. Pardon me, I had to sneeze. Yeah, sometimes just fall flat on your face. Hey, it's gonna happen. It just shows George is human. And some of the stuff in Indiana Jones that George Lucas wanted to do, and Steven Spielberg's like, no, sorry, Hoss, we got to scale that back. Hey, sometimes you have great ideas and they just don't quite bear fruit. It's gonna happen. So let's not let's not let Jar Jar Binks and some other creative decision that George Lucas has had just count the fact that he is one of the greatest givers to cinematic history ever. And that's a legacy that cannot be destroyed, that cannot be denied, as much as Kathleen Kennedy and the rest of them might stamp their feet and scream that it's their show now. Yeah, but he's the one who got the show rolling. And it's about time you pay some respect. Even Spielberg needs to, Spielberg wouldn't have Indiana Jones if it wasn't for George Lucas. He's the one who handed Spielberg the great idea for this and said, here, I got something better than just trying to make a copy of James Bond. Let's go bigger. And that's exactly how we got Raiders of the Lost Ark. But yeah, well, we'll have to see how Indiana Jones 5 comes out. With Jonathan Kasdan writing it, I am not holding high hopes. I'm really not. And quite frankly, I kind of don't want George Lucas attached to this, because any idea he's going to give is going to be completely warped by Kasdan. And if I was George, I would be like, yeah, no, I'm not even begin to give you ideas on this one. But, and just as a sidebar, I honestly think that when George Lucas sold off Lucasfilms, I don't know if he sold off Industrial Light and Magic as part of it, but I think he did. I would have told Disney, you want Lucasfilms? Fine. You can even have LucasArts. Industrial Light and Magic, that's my baby, and I'm keeping it. It'll still work for you, still do things, but the buck stops here as far as ILM goes. That's the way I'd have done it. ILM, I'd have kept that thing hook, line, and sinker, and it kept it far from Disney's clutches. Same with Pixar. Pixar is pretty much a subsidiary of Industrial Light and Magic. But yeah, that's just my 2 cents on something Jeff Hicks brought up this morning, and the fact that Disney just seems to be going out of its way to do hit pieces on George Lucas and slap him down every chance they get. And it's just like, this is sickening. This is disgusting. Knock your crap off. If you don't want George Lucas to be in there, fine. Just say, hey, we have different ideas from George Lucas. He does great things in the past, but we want to try and doing our own thing, and just ask George to step aside. That's not a mean thing to say. It's like, hey, we've got an idea. We want to follow it through. We just don't want too many cooks in the kitchen. Hey, George is kind of doing his own thing anyway, so we just decided not to ask him to come on in. That's not a mean thing to say. That's just, hey, we admire what he's done in the past, but we've got our own sights set on something, and we're going to try to achieve it. And we wish George all the best, but we're going to try and take a stab at this. And I probably wouldn't have a problem with that. Instead of saying, George Lucas is in the writer's room and blah, 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 and just slamming him. It's like, go to hell, whoever wrote that article. Go straight to hell. But anyways, that's my 2 cents on it, and the 2 cents that George Lucas has given us so much. Respect the man. You don't have to love everything he's done, and the Star Wars prequels, love him or hate him, at least it was a concerted vision and not two different guys going back and forth with what they wanted to do and not telling a cohesive story. Because the problem with the prequels was never the story. The acting, that's a little more of the problem. And yes, you can lay that right at George Lucas' feet because he was directing. Hey, at least he tried to do something cohesive. And I still think Revenge of the Sith, even with its bad moments, are still far and away better than the last 2 mainline movies. Probably, well, way better than Solo, and in my book, better than even Rogue One. Because, in my humble opinion on Revenge of the Sith, it still has the best lightsaber duels out of all of Star Wars, including Clone Wars and the others. I'm sorry, they just do not hold a candle to the Star Wars, to the lightsaber fighting in Revenge of the Sith. Nothing does. That is pièce de resistance in lightsaber fighting. all 4 fights. They were just magical. I can forgive a lot of the other movie and a lot of the other bad moments for the lightsaber duels. They were beyond fantastic. So yeah, that's just my 10 minutes and 2 cents on what Jeff was talking about earlier and how I think Hollywood is trying to do George Lucas wrong. Catch y'all next time.